Hello everybody and welcome to more Minecraft Amplified Survival. Today, as you can tell by the sped up footage, we are working on building the new house. So let's get to it. The first thing that I'm going for here is a bit of a fence area. We're going to have a fenced in yard in the end of the build. And my design for this was using a lot of stone brick. And originally when I started building this together, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to need that much stone brick. I had like 3 or 4 stacks at the start of it. I need a lot of stone brick for the entire house. So I had to change my plans slightly, but I am happy with the end result of the house, regardless. I also put iron fences in between the sections of the stone bricks because I thought that design together would look nice and look like a nice little interesting way to fence in a yard. Anyway, after going back to get more materials, I decided to start filling in some of these sections of pond area. And originally I put the wood closer to the wall, but in the end I decided that it was too close to the wall, and I wanted to have that little space in between. And then after checking that the house dimensions weren't quite what I wanted, I had to go back and edit a few things. Regardless, with the dimensions in hand, I went for this almost U shape with the house, making sure that everything was symmetrical. And I started building out with stone bricks and everything, and I started to work on getting the framework set up. One problem I'd been noticing, though, is I am quickly running out of stone bricks. And there's a lot of stone bricks on this build right now, and I plan to use a lot of stone bricks for the entire build, but in the end I decided that wasn't quite what I wanted to do. So I went and I got a little bit of sandstone, and I toyed around a little bit with what I wanted the design to look like for the walls of this house. So after placing in a few more iron fences, I went around and I started laying out this design. And as you can see right here, I went for a design of having mostly sandstone mixed with a little bit of stone bricks in between. And I tried to get them as even as possible. The house wasn't perfectly symmetrical for what I had then planned, but I think I made everything even on both sides. And I think it's good, so I'm happy with it. So I continued to place down sandstone and just continually build up. As always, when you're building, this is the most boring part, is just basically making walls. Eventually, when you get to make windows and you get to design like the exterior of the building and such, it starts to get a lot more interesting and more fun to do. But for now, you're just doing a lot of clicking and making sure that everything is as even as you can make it. So after already going through a stone pickaxe, it was time to start digging out windows and then get a gravel path started. So I grabbed some more fences and started placing those in between, just leaving a couple left, but I didn't have enough iron to make even more fences, so it's not a huge problem though. I continued digging out the area where the gravel path was going to be, placed some torches, and started adding the gravel. And now that was done, it was time to get a little look at what we had so far and plan for what would be existing after, of course, lighting up the area, because it does have to be bright enough to keep monsters at bay, right? So, after collecting a few more materials, I ended up going back here and I was like, alright, I am going to get this floor made. So, I started placing the floor. And the house is a little small. And in retrospect, I did make the house a lot smaller than I wanted it. But there was just not a lot of space in this area. And I'm happy with the way it turned out. It's just a little small, like I've said. So after falling off and having to reclimb back up the house, it was time to start placing in the rest of the wooden framework on the corners and get those set and ready. So once again, building up, this was, again, that part we love so much when we build, just making the framework of the building. Well, this isn't even really framework, this is the entire walls. But as you can see, I cut it out because it took a while to get it right, but I made this little balcony out of wood, and I decided that I didn't like it in the end, so I just took it out. It's no big deal though. So I went up and started placing the sandstone, the wood, once again, filling in the little cracks that we had left, and starting to dig out the windows. And again, a lot of building just consists of repeating and making sure that you're doing things evenly. So with some panes, I decided to start making the windows. So we got to work on actually finishing this up. So I had to go back and craft a few more glass panes, because a lot more. I really underestimated the build, and you'd think after building so much in Minecraft, I would have some sense of knowing how much materials I need to actually do something. But honestly, I do a lot of building in creative mode. I don't do a bunch in survival. So I'm used to just having infinite materials. Anyway, on the second floor, I decided that I wanted some form of balcony in the end, but I didn't want it to be that straight design that we had before. So I tried a couple different designs for the balcony, and in the end I was happy with this, with sandstone bordering it. And then for some reason it bothered me that these corner posts were not connected to the actual build, so I decided to connect them. And then we got to work on the roof, and now that that was for the most part finished, we went back and crafted some stairs. Not quite enough to finish the roof, however. We went up there and started placing them down, and then I eventually, off camera, would finish placing all the stairs. So finally, here it is. We're going to cycle through day and night. This is the house. In retrospect, I'm not 100% happy with the way it turned out. It's a lot smaller than I had originally planned, but it works for a little miniature house. I don't mind it. I think it actually looks fairly good. It's not what I intended originally, but it is something that I am, for the most part, happy with. Are there things I would change? Yes, there are. However, we just have the exterior done. We still have to design the areas surrounding the house, so let's get to that. Alright, back in first person, building some more stairs, getting all of the miscellaneous materials that we're going to need to actually getting the house designed. Now, the first step of building a house, it's actually not the first step, but whatever, is to get the floor placed. And I started off by adding wooden floors, and just to keep the theme the same between the two floors. And I'm glad that I did that, really. I could have went and tried to get quartz and made a nice marble-looking floor for maybe some rooms. And that's something I should mention, is I don't actually have any rooms planned out. So if you guys have any ideas for what type of rooms you would like to see in this house, feel free to leave them in the comments. That'd be cool. I'm much better at planning the exterior of buildings. I've never been good at interior design, but I try. After creating some shears, though, it was time to go get some leaves that we could possibly use as hedges, and also a little bit of wood, because why not? Getting some birch wood that I would then let decay and get birch saplings, and then grabbing the bone meal that we had, I went out and started making this pond. Now, this actually took me a long time. This footage is 5 times sped up for this pond. And I couldn't get it right, because the pond is not symmetrical, and with the placement of it, I didn't really want to waste a lot of space with it. But in the end, I was happy with that. So after placing some sugarcane, we got to building a little hedge. And I like this hedge. I like the design for it. It's very simple, but nice at the same time. And after creating a very tall birch tree that I do like, and then a smaller one, it was time to actually start to get working on the yard. So I placed a bench using trapdoors on the side of it, but 3 stairs as a bench is just far too large. So in the end, I decided to make it only 2, and with a gravel path leading to it. And I decided to make a little pond in here, but in the end, I thought better of it. It was just too small and it didn't look quite right. Adding a couple more benches in just for aesthetic value, it was time to head around and start adding some trees and foliage to the area. Now, I placed these 2 regular wood trees at first, but in the end I was not happy with them, and eventually it was something that I would get rid of. Now though, we made a little arched gate for the entrance of the little estate, and that's cool. And again, these trees are something that I would eventually get rid of. So I decided that the pond wasn't very bright, and I would add a little bit of aesthetic glowstone lighting beneath. So with that, I made the hedge a little longer, and then eventually would get rid of the trees, and here we are. Let's take a little walk. We got a nice little yard here, and I'm happy with the way this yard turned out. I had to get even more bone meal to get it to grow all the foliage correctly, but I like it. And again, I added the hedge going actually up to the house. And here we are in the interior. Again, it's very empty, and if you have any idea for rooms, that would be cool. I'd appreciate that. But I just sort of walk around here and I show you guys a little bit of the view, teasing at what's upstairs. There's actually nothing really upstairs. There's just a cool balcony and stuff. And like I said, I'm fairly proud of this build. Would I have done things differently in retrospect? Yes, the house would be larger. But the space, I didn't have enough space to build a very large house. And for a small house, I think it looks good. So then I walked around, took a little look out of all the windows so you could see all the views, and then went out onto the balcony. It's a nice view of our lovely yard filled with mostly birch trees. Well, not mostly, all birch trees. And I jumped down the stairs because I'm a rebel. And now it was time to head out of the house. And now once again we have a day-night cycle. I think this house looks good. As you can see, the sugarcane has grown, and the lighting, I think I worked out the lighting fairly well, and I'm glad with the way it turned out. And I hope you guys also like it as well. So tell me what you think down in the comments section, and I will read all those comments and take your feedback into consideration. Again, leave room recommendations. And with that said, thank you all so very much for watching. Bye, guys.